So you're driving down the road, you see a KFC, and you start to wonder in your head, how much money do those things actually make? They seem like they're busy, they seem like they're not busy, and how much do they cost to get open? Well, in this video, we are going to talk about exactly how much each KFC location averages in terms of sales, how much they cost to get open, the amount of fees that they charge their franchisees, and ultimately answer the question, is owning a KFC a good financial investment? If you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I am the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, where we have helped hundreds of individuals find, vet, and launch proven money-making franchises. So before we dive into the startup cost and how much sales the KFC locations are making, let's rewind for a second and dive a little bit into their story of how they even got started and end up being the massive brand that's everywhere around the world that we see today, because they have a really interesting story, and you may have seen some of the headlines or YouTube videos about how many times that Colonel Sanders got rejected when he was trying to get this up and going. I'm a little bit skeptical about it, but we'll talk about it in just a minute. So in 1930, at age 40, Harlan Sanders, which is his name, began selling fried chicken to travelers at a Shell oil service station in Corbin, Kentucky. You know, when I read something like that, it just shows that you can start at humble beginnings. So many people that are successful right now, they want to start a business and they don't want to start at the bottom, and it holds them back. They don't want to start at the bottom, so they never start at all. And he started selling chicken at a gas station or an oil service station. But he did later expand by adding a motel and a cafe, which he named Sanders Court and Cafe, turning it into a full roadside stop for food and lodging. And then in 1940, so about 10 years later, he finally perfected his blend of 11 herbs and spices paired with a pressure cooking method. So he needed to figure this part out to really start scaling and expanding, because it was taking about 30 minutes to cook the chicken. And so if you're not familiar with pressure cookers, by the way, they're brilliant. My wife loves it. You can literally cook chicken in a pressure cooker that you can buy. Chicken that would take 40 minutes in the oven, you could cook it in literally 10 minutes. And so that's what he did, and he was able to figure it out by doing that without the chicken losing its flavor. And so in 1952, he partnered with Pete Harmon in Salt Lake City, Utah, opening the first official KFC franchise. So the interesting story is, before he partnered with Pete Harmon, there's this whole headline about how Colonel Sanders had over 1,000 rejections, that he talked to 1,000 people asking them to use his chicken recipe to start a chicken business, and 1,000 people told him no. Specifically says 1,009. Now my question is, was he really counting? Did he keep a tally, and just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I don't know. I'm a little bit skeptical about that, but it makes for a great story. If he truly got rejected over 1,000 times, the perseverance that took, probably rejection 3 or 4, but we'd probably give up. He didn't. And Harmon, his first franchisee, is the one who got credited with coming up with the slogan, the famous slogan, "Finger licking good," which is genius. It sounds so good. And in 1964, though, Colonel Sanders wound up selling KFC for about $2 million, which is inflation adjusted somewhere around $20 million. But he stayed on as the brand's ambassador for life. I'm guessing he was getting paid and getting some royalties or something for using his name and his likeness and his face. Who knows? I hope so, because even $20 million for what KFC has turned into doesn't really sound like a lot of money. Now, by the way, if you're finding this video helpful and you are in the market for a franchise, or you just want to know, what are some good franchises that are not that expensive to get open, but have a track record of making a good amount of money, then I have a gift for you. We created something called our 5 low-cost franchises that all make $1 million. We have a whole PDF breakdown breaking down the businesses, talking about their sales and their startup costs. There's an accompanying video breakdown and explanation to it as well. It's my gift to you. You can grab it down in the link below, or you can go to franchiseempire.com/low cost. Make sure to go grab it before we take it down. By 1970, though, KFC had 3,000 restaurants in 48 countries, making it one of the first fast food chains to expand internationally. Here's a fun fact. KFC is the most popular fast food chain in China with more than 9,000 locations, more than triple the number in the United States. That is absolutely wild. I do think fried food is a pretty big part in the Chinese culture. I don't know a lot about it, but I believe that's the case. But that's pretty interesting. I did not know that China had 3 times the amount of locations of KFC than the US. By the way, when was the last time you ate KFC? I'm curious. I haven't, my goodness. I think I probably only ever eaten KFC maybe like twice. I'm generally not a fan of fast food. I don't eat like at fast food places, really, besides Five Guys. They got the best burgers. Shake Shack's burgers are pretty good too, though. Anyways, how many units does KFC have open worldwide? Want to take a quick guess? If you guessed 24,000, you got it right, with 99% of them being franchise locations. 1% of them are corporate-run locations. And but here is a little trivia for you. Drop your answer in the comment below. What year did KFC introduce its famous red and white bucket? Let me know in the comments below. We'll let you know the answer at the end of the video. All right, so startup costs, right? So you're thinking, all right, KFC, I know they're popular. How much is it gonna set me back? How much is it gonna cost to get one of these bad boys open? The initial investment for a KFC franchise ranges from $1.8 million to $3.7 million. The initial franchise fee is just $45,000. Royalties of 4%, advertising fees of 4.5%. All right, so now the $1 million question. How much do they make? How much are these things making? They better make a lot, because if it's gonna cost me somewhere between $1.8 to $3.7 million, they better be making a lot of money, and it's gonna help us answer the question of if it's a good investment. So in 2024, get this, the average KFC in the US brought in about $1.3 million in sales. And looking at locations with a drive-through, the numbers were about the same. 1.347. Ones without a drive-through were 1.288 million. So to answer that question, guys, when I look at something called the sales to investment ratio, for food, you typically want to see 2 to 1. It's not even 1 to 1. It's less than 1 to 1. Much less, depending upon how much it costs you to get it up and open. And of course, you know, if you exceed the average or if you're lower than the average. But what you'll find with most of these large food franchise brands, number one, food businesses are known to have very low profit margins. Look it up. They're known to have low profit margins. I can't throw out any numbers around franchises because I have to stay compliant. Can't talk about profitability that's not quoted in the franchise disclosure document. But I've owned food franchises. I'll tell you, the margins are not known to be great. We've got someone on our team here at Franchise Empire, head of brokerage, owned 13 Five Guys locations. He's talked about how, you know, margin's not great. This is why you see people with food franchises that own 5, 10, 15, 20 locations, because that's how many they need to own to be able to really produce any sort of meaningful cash flow, because of how expensive they are to get open and the low profitability numbers for food in general, not specific to food franchises. Now, if you guessed that KFC introduced the red and white bucket in 1957, you got it wrong. No, I'm just kidding. You got it right. It was designed by Colonel Sanders and his first franchisee, Pete Harmon. This guy was a badass, man. Pete Harmon, he came up with the finger looking good. He helped design the bucket, but the buckets contained 14 pieces of chicken, and they came with biscuits and gravy. Now, if you want to see more videos like this, deep dives into the most popular and well-known franchises and understand their numbers, then make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss out on future videos, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.